Liberty.
Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston. Across from me is the one, the only Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson. How is it going on this beautiful Friday morning with flood warnings and stuff, Chuck?
I didn't know about the flood warnings.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of water out there. It's Nashville. Like if it rains more than like a tenth of an inch in a day, there's flood warnings.
Well, look, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on again.
I appreciate you being here. Honestly, anytime you let me know, you're welcome to come to the studio and record. You don't even have. I know that you're polite and you ask beforehand. You don't even have to ask. Like, you're welcome to be on the show any day of the week.
I don't have to book
that you want to. No, you don't have to even book on my schedule. I know I sent you a link, and you don't have to go through the whole process of booking. You can just make your way to the studio.
I appreciate that.
Anytime you want.
What do we talk about here?
We talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of meaning every single day that we want to, when we want to, because this is Good Morning Liberty, and that's what we talk about. Follow us on your favorite podcast app, ring the bell on YouTube, hit subscribe, leave a comment, try and fight with someone on there. Honestly, we try to be nice, but when it comes to you guys interacting in our comment sections, I need you to go for maximum response. Okay. Maximum, just be the most belligerent, dense asshole that ever existed on the face of planet Earth when you're interacting. When you're acting on YouTube comments. That's where I want you to be, okay? All right, we've got a lot of things to talk about because it's Dumb Bleep of the week. That means a live group threw in some stuff. I threw in some stuff. We're going to decide what the dumbest thing that happened since last Friday was. And
I threw in one thing.
You threw in. I don't know what that thing was, so I can't guarantee you it made it in.
Oh.
You just said that you added something, but...
Well, it had to do, you had a similar one, but yours was after mine. I just noticed in the order of bookmarks.
Okay. What was it? Do you know? You don't remember?
I'll
Okay.
have to go look.
All right. We'll see if it's in here, and you can be like, oh, that was mine.
Yeah.
You can. So there was a ICE shooting in Minneapolis, and that is what everyone's talking about right now. And it just happens to be the case. Like, if you're right leaning, you think it was justifiable. If you're left leaning, you think that it was a murder. And we're going to try and be slightly more nuanced with this. I'm sure you've seen the video of this happening. Regardless of where you come down, this is a video of someone losing their life. Whether they were protesting something that they don't think the government ought to be doing. And this is a video of someone taking that person's life, whether you decide it was their fault for the action that they took, or it was the government agent's fault for the action that they took. I just first want to recognize that's a terrible situation. And I don't wish it on nearly everyone.
Just about.
So here's this video, and we'll play it. This is the one that's got all the screaming and bad language and stuff in it, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. It's not necessary. Okay, so what we have on this video right now, as I'm sure many of you have seen, there is a person in an SUV that is parked crossways on the highway, and there are ICE agents getting out of a Nissan Titan pickup truck. Just
the worst pickup truck.
Awful, terrible brand of vehicles. That's where they first went wrong. That's the second most offensive thing in this video, honestly.
Yeah. Should have had a Hilux.
They're driving a Nissan. And then
should have had a Helix.
Yeah.
A Helix.
Man, I was watching Homeland, by the way, and I finally finished it last night. And then in this season, they said the word Hilux a few times. And every time I hear it, I just want to skip past it. Damn. Stop. Okay, anyway. So they walk up to the vehicle. This person's parked crossways. Guy's saying, get out of the effing car. Starts pulling on her door handle. She's in reverse. All right, so now she is backed up, and this is where the thing happens. You see another officer has walked over here, either walked in front of the car, or it is a result of the way that she was trying to back up and turn it around that he ended up in front of the car. Regardless, she puts it in reverse and then puts it in drive and takes off.
Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God!
All right. And so that's what
Can you go back to the
takes
beginning?
place. I can. Yeah, we can dissect this. That's what we're supposed to do on this video. And so
The very beginning. Keep going.
very beginning.
Keep going.
Oh, you want to go all the way. Okay. What's
Yeah.
that? That's the very beginning.
I feel like there's more.
What do you want to see?
I feel like I saw a different video where they initially were.
Oh, I got 3 videos.
Initially, they were waving cars to go around.
This person, the person in the SUV.
I don't remember exactly, but my understanding is initially like they were waving people around. You can see part of the street is cleared, part of it is snowy. And then this person, it looks like they attempted to turn around at first until ICE approached them.
Yeah, so what I've seen a lot of different ways this has been talked about. That some people will say, well, she just got done dropping off her kid at school. Some people say she's been following ICE around all day and trying to obstruct what they were doing because she's very much against ICE. And then this video where I think you do see her waving people past or something. It still looks to me like she stops, someone gets out of the car, who my assumption right now is her wife got out of the car to film what she was doing. And she turns and stops crossways on the road. And so people are saying, well, she's actually just trying to make a U-turn in the middle of the street. Now, it looks like in the video I saw, she stops. I believe it's her wife gets out of the car. That's who's someone that's filming or who was out there. And then she sits there, does wave someone by. Now, just to be clear, none of this matters as to whether or not this is going to be a lawfully justifiable shoot.
Yes,
by the police officer.
it will be.
Whether or not she was trying to turn around, or she got stuck, or she was panicked, or she was definitely trying to run over the ICE officer, which I don't think is the case. None of those things actually matter for whether or not the ICE agent legally will be justified in the actions that he took. The question is going to be, was he like reasonably in fear for his life in that moment and trying to defend himself or others? That's going to be the legal question in this case. Let me see. This is a clip from CNN.
Tonight, this is some of it. It is grainy, difficult to see. Could provide. Certainly provides another angle on what happened before a 37-year-old Minneapolis mom was shot.
Okay, so at this point in this video, this is a newer one that came out. This is right after someone got out of the car, and she turns, and now she's just sitting parked that direction on the road. There's not a car immediately going by, nothing like that. Like someone was like, oh, she was turning around, and she was waving people by, and she's just trying to turn around on the street.
How long does she sit there for?
Let's see here.
Provides another angle on what happened before a 37-year-old Minneapolis mom was shot and killed by an ICE officer shortly after dropping her 6-year-old off at school. Now, it comes on what has been a tense day there with more federal agents.
Let me see if we can get to another part of it.
It's maroon Honda Pilot entering from the right there. Then 20 seconds later, someone gets out on the passenger side. We don't know who or why this person leaves the car. We then see her turn and pull perpendicular across the street, seeming to block the way. But as you see here, leaving room for vehicles to pass by her on either side. Finally, there is this new angle of the federal officer who shot her. He arrives. Another federal SUV pulls up.
Listen, enough time goes by here that if you're trying to dissect it from that point of view, this is not she was just dropping off a friend and then was trying to turn around and was waiting for traffic to go by. It's once again, like none of this part really matters as to whether or not the officer is legally justified in the shoot. But my assumption after even seeing this is she dropped off someone to film the thing. She turned her car perpendicular on the road because she knew that ICE was about to come down the road and was trying to block them. That's what I see. Now there's all kinds of issues where I have a tough time talking about this because this is a libertarian podcast and I'm a libertarian, and if I could push a button and dissolve the federal government, including ICE, I think it'd overall be best to do that. That'd be the moral thing to do.
Like I shouldn't exist is what you're saying.
So I have that issue. These are federal agents. And how can I be like, oh, these are federal agents trying to do their job, and don't bother them while they're trying to execute a lawful order. That sounds rough. I don't like saying that. I'm not a fan of saying that. So when you come down on different sides of the political aisle, what you have to do, and this is difficult. It's difficult for people, and why I haven't. I sit here racking my brain about immigration all the time. I can't force myself to care about it. I see the stuff with ICE and I feel bad when they are arresting someone who's been here for 20 years and has kids and has a job and has a house and stuff like that. I'm like, well, that's not worth it. Why are you doing that? The person's a net benefit to society, probably, unless they're a commie. So overall, I don't really think that person needed to be deported. I have to switch it to, okay, we have a Democrat president and these are not ICE officers, but these are ATF officers, and they're going door to door executing a lawful order of confiscating what has been determined to be illegal firearms by the Supreme Court, and checking your papers to see what your registration is and looking in your gun safe to make sure that you don't have anything. And some great liberty-blooded Americans are out there just wreaking havoc and causing them pain the entire day because they suck and we disagree with everything that they're doing. And they're not pointing guns at them. They're not trying to beat them up or anything, but they're trying to make their life a living hell the whole time that they're going through there doing that.
Maybe blocking the street.
Maybe blocking the street's one of the things they do, And so then it comes down on, well, yeah, with guns. Yeah. But not with immigration. That's a different thing. Well, for some people, it's not a different thing, and I don't know why that becomes the reason that people on the left decide that the federal government has too much power. It's a weird one. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But I want to get to the shoot, whether or not it was a lawful. What do you think? I don't want to.
Oh, it's definitely lawful. I mean, she clearly starts driving her car towards an officer who does get hit with the vehicle.
He makes contact with
there's contact
made with the vehicle.
And so it's going to be a lawful shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't know. I don't believe, but I could be wrong. I don't believe the motive was to run over the officer. She probably is looking at the officer that is in her window, and probably didn't know that there was an officer in front of her car.
Yeah.
So my assumption is she was trying to get away from the officers at her window. But
probably did not even see the officer in front of the car, like you just said. There's a guy pulling on her door handles, telling her to get the F out of the car. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't even.
But here's the thing, Here's what we tell people all the time. You can't avoid the situation. If a police officer, doesn't matter who they are, whether you agree with them or not, tells you to get out of a vehicle, you just comply in the moment.
In that moment, if there's some people with guns and they're federal agents, we don't agree with it, but you gotta try and live.
You can't fight your battle if you don't live.
You got to try and live to fight another day.
Right.
Okay. You don't have any weapon. Maybe you think you would, you could go out guns blazing and take out that person or something but you're not living to fight another day at that point. It's best just to say, okay, all right. And move your car or don't, whatever. Don't try to, that they're going to get out and try to arrest you and you pull your car in front of them. So yeah, there's all kinds of circumstances where you can say, is that the best position to put yourself in? Probably not. Now, as far as the police officer goes, I've got good and bad things to say. Or the ICE officer goes, I've got good and bad things to say. Number one, there's a slow motion video going around where you can see that the car makes contact with the officer. That's true. First off, a lot of people are making a diagnosis of the situation based off the slow motion video, and that's not the speed that life happens in. It happens in the real speed, and actually when you're in that situation, it goes by way faster. You're talking a half a second to make a decision. And so you really can't make a determination off of, people say, well, see, her wheels are turned away from the officer. Well, this is where we need body cam footage. Could the officer even see that? Was the officer looking at her wheels or was he looking at the car? Okay, the wheels were turned. That's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Did the officer have any reason to think that he was in imminent danger of getting hit by this car?
And even if he didn't, that's going to be the argument. That's what he will say.
And so
now there's an argument to be made. Why was he in front of the vehicle to begin with?
Yeah.
Should you try to stop a vehicle with your human body? Likely not. They could have boxed her in with other vehicles.
Yeah. I mean,
instead of bodies.
And also, as we play this in slow motion right here, I do think this is important. At what point? So the car kind of hits him right here. At the point that he shoots her, that I could tell the first time, he's already at the side of the vehicle and the car is already not going to hit him. Like that's where the first shot happens. And then on top of that whole thing, if there's a car right here and a driver that you have determined is flooring it to run you over, you're not going to prevent that from happening by shooting the person. As you can tell, because they fire 3 shots, kill her, and she essentially floors it into another vehicle that's on the side of the street. Killing the person is not going to stop the vehicle from hitting you. And so my question would be, is that taught that, like, if the car is right here and you think someone's flooring it, your first thing you need to do is try and kill the person, or the first thing you need to try to do is get the hell out of the way of the vehicle? Because killing the person is literally not going to stop you from getting hit. That is not a way to save your life at that point in time. It could be the way to save the life of other people. If you get a shot off and kill the person, you think that they're a deranged lunatic who's going to run over a bunch of people, and you could stop them even though you get hit in the process. Sure. That was the dumbest thing to me, is like, you're in self-defense in that scenario. Once again, we're hindsighting and, looking at all this in slow motion and thinking about what should have been done, or we would have done, or could have been done. I just don't know if that's reasonably something that you think is going to save your life at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is...
It looks like he's leaning over the side of the vehicle to get off his first shot after it's already past him.
Well, I don't know. He was, there was contact made with the vehicle. Perhaps that changed his body structure. Again, in real time, I've never been hit with a vehicle, but
yeah,
even being hit by something that weighs, 4,000 pounds, even at a slow speed, is still going to alter your body in some way. The whole thing's a tragedy. What's the dumb in this? I don't know. The fact that it exists.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't. I hate this with any protest. Don't block traffic. I don't care if you're blocking ambulances, ICE agents, or people trying to go to work or school. And you're trying to do it with your vehicle, with your person, with anything. You do not have a right to impede anyone's freedom to travel. You have no right to do that. You have a right to gather in a space that's not going to impede on someone else's right to freely exist as a person. So that's number one. I think that's dumb that anyone is trying to block anything. Number two, I think it's dumb that we're in this mess to begin with. Mm-hmm. Like, I do see, like, Elon Musk's argument and the rights argument that we have all these illegals. If you do the math, it's like 80% or 90% of them vote Democrat. It's a numbers game. It seems like there was an entire scheme by the Democrats to allow illegal aliens into this country to get the votes. after a certain number of years when they would be eligible to vote, so that they could play the mathematical number game and stay in power. So I understand that there's something we have to do about that. But I would say the dumb number two in this is that we're even in the situation to begin with. That scenario played out, the math scenario, the whatever regime or whatever scheme was implemented by the Democrats to play a numbers game to keep Republicans from getting power, or anyone from getting power for that matter. And then two, the fact that we have a plethora of ICE agents now because of the problem of all this illegal immigration that took place, to try to remove them so that we can get rid of the scheme set up by the Democrats, when all of this could be avoided if we just got rid of the welfare state to begin with, and people could travel freely across the border, in large part just not to get anything. They wouldn't become eligible to vote. They wouldn't get any welfare. They wouldn't get anything. All they could do was come here and be a contributor to society. And it would be the invisible hand. It would naturally flow the immigration problem, because people could only come here if they were going to be a net benefit to society.
They would only come here if they were going to be a net benefit.
And you want to know how I know this? That's what happened previously. Milton Friedman talked a lot about this, and it's like we're all talking about problems that shouldn't exist to begin with. Now, I know we live in reality and we have to talk about them because it does exist, even though it shouldn't exist. It does exist. So what do you do about it? Number one, I don't agree with any protesters blocking people to freely travel. I think you are violating someone's fundamental right to be a human being, and for whatever reason. Do I think you deserve to die for that? No. But if you get into a situation where you are potentially impacting the safety or life or death of another person, then it's possible that you could die. For instance, I've seen several videos of protesters blocking the street. A car tries to make it through. All these protesters start banging on their windows and throwing rocks and all kinds of stuff. So that person takes off and runs over someone, and they end up dying. I think that's justified. I don't think someone should have to sit there and wait for them to beat the shit out of you because you're not moving your vehicle and they're stopping you from freely travel. Like, the whole thing is a mess, man.
The entire
I don't even think
situation
brooms
is a
are going to
mess.
fix it.
No.
You can't even get your brooms to this mess, man.
I think regardless of what the scheme was to try and import a bunch of people, whether or not it was for votes or for expanding the welfare state or whatever it was, the Biden administration clearly stopped enforcing basically any immigration rules, and it clearly just could have been done. They actually started doing it at the end of the administration because they could tell it was going to be a big part of the election. And I get the whole, like, the welfare state is the actual problem, and at the end of the day, like, no one should be able to come here and get your money, and so that's wrong. And do we need ICE? Do we not need ICE? I don't know. We had immigration enforcement before ICE. ICE was created because they decided that we weren't spending enough money trying to enforce this before 9/11. And that's one of the reasons that 9/11 happened. Of course, if the CIA wouldn't have created these people in the first place, then we wouldn't have had to deal with that. So once again, they were just covering up for other problems that they had already created with the things that they were doing overseas. They were already tracking the people that eventually came into the United States. They already had a system of visas and knowing when people came in and when they were supposed to leave. They had already allocated funding and had a system that was supposed to be designed and set up in 1996 before what happened at the end of 2001. And them being the government, they had just not figured out how to get the website working yet and the database working yet. And they decided they needed to have a whole new system, a whole new agency, whole new department. And we had the INS before we had ICE, and they were deporting people beforehand, and ICE has a lot more authorities that they probably shouldn't have, the authorities that other agencies already have also. And so should we abolish ICE? Or what? I think we could abolish ICE and go back to the INS. That'd be fine. I'm not going to say, well, we absolutely can't exist as a country without this thing that George W. Bush put in place in 2003 as a response to 9/11 to take focus off the fact that we had screwed up and put ourselves in that position to begin with. So I can't say that that's the only way that we could go forward. There are a couple other things that I think are dumb about this. I don't know if Trump hadn't seen the clip or what it is, but his response to the thing was really dumb because it's not what you see in the clip. And unfortunately, a lot of people will just see that. It doesn't matter. Probably not really at all. He says, I just viewed the clip of the event, which took place in Minneapolis. Horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the clip, it's hard to believe he's alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The situation's being studied in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting their law enforcement officers and ICE agents.
The second half is probably true. But.
Yeah. And they are like people. I keep hearing, I got to take off my libertarian hat sometimes when I talk about this stuff. I keep hearing, I was listening to the Breaking Points or Crystal Ball talking about all the chaos that they're causing going to these cities. I'm like, they're not causing the chaos.
Right.
It's all your crazy ass friends that are going around doing all this shit that are causing the chaos.
Right.
When it comes to this. Now, do I want them going door to door asking for people's papers and stuff like J.D. Vance said in a couple interviews over the last couple of days? No, not for anything. Not for this, not for guns, not for hate speech laws, not for anything at all. But the chaos is coming from all the people hanging out on bridges, throwing rocks and shit at their cars and all that, and blocking the roadways, and then freaking out when you're lining the roadway with people. It's a crosswalk. And so they get a bunch of people on a crosswalk and then won't let vehicles through. And then when the vehicle touches them, they're like, ah.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole thing.
By the way, and that's a stupid game to play.
Yeah.
You're an idiot. You win dumb bleep of the week.
The Democrats said the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. And you know what? Screw you, Democrats. I don't care if you're right on this or not. No. I ain't going to take any of this from people on the left at all.
Yeah.
Not one bit.
It's like the left had listened to their friends when they said, hey, go play out in the street. We like growing up, well, that was a joke.
Yeah.
You knew like you don't go play in the street because like you get hit by a car, you likely are to be dead, severely injured, if not dead.
Yeah.
So that was like a joke you told. Like everyone knew. I wrote it in my diary as a joke. Yeah, growing up as a kid, but it's like
don't do it.
They took that literally.
They do it.
Maybe there's a bunch of autistics on the left or something. I don't know.
Here's Kristi Noem talking about the situation, and she has to stop it with the freaking Halloween costumes everywhere she goes.
Because does ICE roll up to Homeland Security?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You asked about a shooting that we just had in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted
heroically. Is that what she's going to say?
This almost... It like kills the whole thing where I'm like, yeah, it's probably a legally justifiable shoot. Should he have done it? In hindsight, no, it doesn't really look like it. That wouldn't really have saved his life. Clearly the car, she accelerated even faster and plowed into a vehicle on the side of the street, all that. But then when they come out and they're like, this was an act of domestic terrorism and she was trying to ram her. When I see that video, you just be honest about it. And a lot of people on the right are not going to be honest about it. It does not look like she was there with the intention to run over ICE officers. We have seen instances where people decided they were going to plow through people on the street as an act of domestic terrorism or whatever you want to call it. This is not one of those things. There was a guy right next to her. She just backed up. Even she turned her wheels like she was going to go that way. I get it. That officer, that's not important to the fact that, like, whether or not it was justifiable shoot. Now we're talking about what her intentions were. There's nothing about that video shows her intentions were to try and kill the officer.
Yeah. And
at all.
Okay, let's talk about domestic terrorism. Did she have a manifesto? Did she write down in her diary, like, I'm going to go run over some ICE officers or whatever? Like, if you have that evidence, sure, you maybe. We've talked about this before. All these terms, domestic terrorism, all of this stuff. It's because they can use those things to skirt around the justice system, to skirt around your constitutionally protected rights to due process and things like that. If they label you a terrorist, you're not afforded the same rights as you would be as an American citizen. And that's the problem with those terms. And then it's all theater. I mean, look at her in her costume standing up there with her. I think she was with Border Patrol at that event.
Yeah,
That's what it looked like to me, which also rolls up to her as well. And it's just like it just looks like a theater that's happening, but it's real life. I don't know, man. The whole thing's dumb.
And then we got leftist protests. They're talking about hanging Kristi Noem and all kinds of stuff like that. You know, the peaceful side of the aisle.
Save all life, kill and ice. 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 Save all life, kill and ice.
I hate the more people there are in the crowd. There's something about the IQ of the crowd becomes the IQ of the lowest IQ person that's in the crowd. That's just the way it works. I don't know what the exact science is, but this whole like banging on pots and pans and all that, there's something so wildly annoying to the whole thing to me, about the whole thing to me. Anytime I hear a crowd chanting,
well, like
anything,
when have you ever been on a sports team where they say like you're only as good as your weakest player?
Yeah.
The same thing in large crowds.
True.
You're only as good as your dumbest person. Everyone lowers to the IQ of the dumbest person there.
So my cap on number one, good God, don't worry, there's a couple quick ones in here, is I get the arguments about ICE and all that. I get the arguments about immigration and all that. We are in the reality that we're in. When I see the left out here talking about government authority and government power, I can't stand for that. I can't let them get away with that. And I posted this out today. It's great to see the left standing up against the ever expanding powers of the federal government, and they are expanding. The federal government is getting more and more powerful. Next time they gain control over that power, they're sure to be the Thomas Jeffersons of our era. I said, oh, no, wait. They'll take pleasure in watching the DOJ go door to door, enforcing hate speech laws, confiscating guns, jailing you for tax evasion, and killing those who resist. They're not your friends. They're hypocrites, and they're just authoritarians who are mad that they're not in control of the power right now. That's all it is. So if they want to go out there and be protesting this, okay. You guys think they're going to reduce the power of the federal government at all when they get in control? And they will get in control. Again, everyone has to remember that. There is no, oh, look how crazy the left is, that's going to stop the left from having control over every single bit of the federal government. Either within 3 years or 7 years or whenever that's going to be. The left will have control over every single power the federal government has right now. Everyone's got to remember that. But they don't care about the government having that much power at all. They care about the immigration thing for whatever reason.
They just want to control it.
Maybe this is interrupting their plans or whatever. I don't know what the case is.
Hey, they're compassionate.
It's compassion.
Yeah.
But I can't get down with that because the welfare state's the whole freaking problem. When you ask people what the problem with immigration is, they can say crime. And sure, I don't think the stats bear out that the people are more violent than the people that are already here in the first place. And regardless, we don't do pre-crime. We arrest people for crimes that they committed. Not that we're scared that they're going to commit a crime. sometime in the future.
The problem with Minnesota in general, if you look at the stats, and I saw a representative talking about this, is like the Somali immigrants, when we talked about all the fraud that was happening there last week and the week before, I believe, it's like 80 to 90% of them are on welfare and are still on welfare 10 years later.
Oh, in Somalia, yeah.
It's like, what are we doing? That's not the American dream.
No.
It's not the American, come to America and we'll take care of everything for you. That's not the American dream.
In that case, instead of the...
But it is to Mamdani and these people on the woke left.
That's number 3.
The warm collectivism instead of the rugged individualism. No, the dream of America is you have a land where you're free and you can come and build something and not have it taken from you. You can come and have a family and not worry about a dictator coming by and murdering you for no reason.
The dream now seems to be that you can come here and be free to take something from someone else.
We've got the whole dream backwards.
We do. Oh, Jasmine Crockett's upset that people are being
Is this number
mean. No, this is just icing on the cake, especially the last couple seconds.
Icing
of this.
on the cake.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. I see what you did.
I remember when Charlie Kirk got killed. Do you remember what our response was? Our response wasn't to sit there and pretend like it was okay. Is it okay because you have a badge? Because the last time I checked, allegedly no one is above the law. Can y'all not just have a little bit of courage and humanity? A child.
That was pretty good, actually. I mean, if you're going to give her some points, it's slightly more believable.
Was it? Oh, man. No, I don't believe her. And she asked him, it's okay if you have a badge. Well, you know
this person is the same as Charlie Kirk.
I think she's right. The thing that we have to recognize is that the government does have a monopoly on the use of force and violence against people. And she should stop arguing to make that government more powerful all the time. And it does get a little different when they have a badge because they do get to carry that gun and they do have a list of rules. Immunity. They got qualified immunity. There's another problem right there. And yeah, so it does become an issue. And so you should stop trying to give them more money and power all the time. You really should.
And they're by the way, they're part of the government. And guess who adjudicates these crimes? The government.
Yeah. By the way, this invokes, I don't know what we want to call it, but I don't know if you remember last week, we opened up with Trump saying that if Iran, the protests got violent, if they killed any protesters, then we were going to go over there and protect those people. And we made the joke of what happens if an ICE protest turns violent and the Trump administration kills someone. Does that mean that Iran then has the authority to come into the U.S. and protect these people? And so now we're going to see. We have to round and found out. We said that we could go in and protect their protesters from violence from the state. And so now
seems like we're going to see some MiG-1s flying overhead.
That's what's going to happen.
Some Iranian MiG-1s.
Oh my God, that's number one. I don't even know what that's called. Just call it Minnesota shooting. Which, by the way, Minnesota shooting has been the title of a lot of episodes.
We'll just call it Minnesota.
At this point, I think it would be safer if we just traded Minnesota for Venezuela. Honestly, is that the swap that we want?
Should we just give Minnesota to Canada?
We could do that.
Yeah.
Do that. We could take. What's it? They've got a pretty good province up there, right? What is it? I can't remember which one it is.
Saskatchewan?
I don't remember which one it is. Which is the one that doesn't? Oh, good shooting. There you go. Alberta. Thank you. Good shooting. Yeah, I like that. That play on words there. Good shoot. Number 2.
Right, we got 35 minutes.
Yeah, really quick here. We're just going to say how stupid this is. A 3-year extension of the Obamacare subsidies just passed the House, 230 to 196, with 17 Republicans joining all of the Democrats. This is one of the Krasensteins. They say, take that, Donald Trump, take that, Mike Johnson. And so, yeah, we did have many Republicans join in with the Democrats. Now, this has got to go to the Senate, and more than likely on its face wouldn't pass, but they're probably going to use this bill to add some amendments to it, and then send it back over to the House, and we'll see what happens. The dumbest part about this to me, and I know it doesn't, well, Obamacare is part of it. The fact that we're upset over something that was supposed to be a 1-year government program that then got extended another 3 years and now is getting extended another 3 years because
nothing so permanent as a temporary government program.
Because you just can't live without it now. And that's such a great example of how adding subsidies into a market increases the price. And then when you take away the subsidies, you're like, well, I can't afford that. It's because the price rose as much as you were subsidizing it.
And by the way,
now
this
you can't take them away.
What's most interesting about this to me is it has nothing to do with whether or not this is good for the American people. It has everything to do with these people wanting to keep their jobs.
That's all they care about.
Because let me read off the states of these Republicans that voted for this: Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, California,
Virginia,
Wisconsin, Iowa. What do all those states have in common? It's a large group of blue-collar workers that typically vote slightly Democrat. They're labor unions. They're filled with them.
They're potentially in swing districts, and they don't want to piss people off.
Exactly. They don't want people losing their health care or the premiums skyrocketing, because then they're going to be out of a job. It's all to protect themselves.
And by the way,
that's what Congress is in there for. It's to protect themselves. This whole thing has been a scam. I replied to someone not that long ago, talking about this, and I'm like, okay, well, why are we in this situation? Oh yeah, well, the insurance companies wrote the Obamacare law that the Democrats passed in 2011. And it's like, we're in this mess to begin with because the government inserted itself further into a market that it has no business being in. And if you're going to guarantee profits to insurance companies, they're going to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Just like the housing market took advantage because they knew they were going to get bailed out in 2008. So they took advantage of making all of this money. And when they lost, they got bailed out. And the insurance companies are taking advantage of being guaranteed all of this money. And that's just further degrading, I would say, an essential need. It's not a right, but it's an essential need for people to make some healthcare things so unaffordable that all it's doing is creating a disaster, which might be part of the plan to ultimately take over healthcare.
It's always the plan.
And a lot of people said that back in the day.
Obamacare was going to destroy the market.
Yeah.
It's going to make health insurance so expensive that people will see that there's no other option. That's all it's going to do. Do you know how many times Trump went out there and talked about how we can't do these? We had a 40-day government shutdown over not extending these subsidies. And he was saying, don't give the money to the insurance companies, give the money to the people through HSAs, stuff like that. I mean, so many times this has been mentioned. You know how many times he has just gone on a massive rant against these Republicans that just voted explicitly against something that we had a 40-day government shutdown over? Not a single time. He hasn't mentioned it one single time at all. Hasn't said a single thing. Even though they just voted explicitly with Democrats to do something that he has been against entirely this whole time. But hey, at least they still want to vote to send money to Israel and Ukraine. So next thing is New York City housing. Now, the first part of this dumb comes from, honestly, it was going around last Friday before the whole Venezuela Maduro thing happened. It went around after we had done Bleep of the Week, but Mamdani over there in New York, he has been going around inspecting some of these terrible, dilapidated, just awful slums in New York City. And of course, as we have seen through idiots posting online, he's like this person says he's inspecting the capitalist slums of New York City on the first day. This one says he's going after slumlords on day one. That's incredibly based. And I mean, there's a little video here. Let me pull this up so we can cover this properly. Just get that out of here. Sorry, here we go.
Inspecting broken floor tiles in an apartment on Clarkson Avenue in Prospect Lefferts Gardens, getting a first-hand look at the deteriorating conditions, from an eroding bathtub surface to a rust-covered, corroded bathroom pipe and red paint splashed about.
And you told the landlord about this?
Yes.
And what was the response?
Call some numbers, but nobody want to do anything about it.
Residents in this same building and in others owned by the landlord Pinnacle Realty say they've experienced similar conditions, from leaking bathroom ceilings to moldy drywall. Tenant unions rallying in response, demanding stronger tenant protections.
All right. This is what happens when you just let the free market run amok.
Yeah.
Clearly. That's exactly what happens.
When did this happen?
Sorry, let me get that off of here. All right, so my response to this was, if there was only a way to incentivize them to invest in their property, the landlords, and clearly a joke, I think. I had another one that did really what people thought that, I think a lot of people thought I was serious. I can't remember what exactly I said. There was something about how finally the government was going to be involved in New York City housing. And the point of that is, the government is heavily involved in New York City housing. And in fact,
The most involved.
The apartments that they are inspecting are rent-controlled apartments. And what happens in rent-controlled apartments is, by the way, the cost for the landlord, the cost for whoever it is that owns the building, they keep going up and up. Like, they went through the inflation everyone else did. You know, there's property taxes on that stuff. There's expenses involved with doing any kind of work. I don't know if you guys go to Home Depot, but materials cost a little bit more than they used to cost.
Labor costs more.
Labor, that's another thing. But they have caps on what they can charge for people. And so are they going to do the work to make the apartments better? No. Why would you just openly lose money? And this ridiculous exchange. So I said if there was only a way to incentivize them to invest in their property. And this guy, Urban and Mercer, said maybe they should sell it if they can't afford to maintain. I said they aren't allowed to charge what it costs to maintain. And they said, then sell. If it's not a good investment, don't own it.
Who's going to buy it?
Yeah, that whole thing keeps going. The thing is, it is the government that makes it not a good investment to own it. And this is part of the overall plan, like what we were talking about with Obamacare and everything too. Maybe not explicitly with New York's policies to begin with, but I think it's part of Mamdani's plan. I think what he's going to do is he's going to make it so much of a loss for these landlords to be able to have these places that eventually they have to sell it. But who's going to buy it? No profit.
New York.
No profit-seeking entity is going to come in and buy these buildings that need a ton of work done to them when they can't charge what is necessary
to recoup
the investment. And because they also, if they're going to use money to go do this and try and earn money off of that investment, they could then take that money, instead of buying something they're going to lose money on, they'll take that money and put it somewhere where they can earn money off of that. That's what happens when you cap the prices that people can charge and that they can recoup for their investments. And so it's equal to a bunch of terrible slums that people are living in New York. Obviously. That is obviously what would happen. And so what are they going to do? They're going to force these people into selling, and New York is going to buy up the apartments, and then they're going to run them, and they're going to make them better. I'm not really sure if they're going to make them better or not. They might make them look better a little bit, and then they're going to charge them, subsidized rates for the apartments. And all the while, it's going to be the taxpayers in New York that are actually paying for this thing the whole time. And it's going to be the taxpayers in New York that are actually losing money on this thing the whole time. So yeah, that entire system is ridiculous. He's out here talking. He says, if your landlord does not responsibly steward your home, the government will step in.
We will not compromise on housing quality. If your landlord does not responsibly steward your home, city government will step in. We will make sure that 311 violations are resolved, and we will hold slumlords to account for hazardous and dangerous threats to your well-being.
Jesus.
So they're in the situation that they put themselves in. They have decided to rent control the apartments or price cap the apartments, essentially, made it to where the expenses in New York keep going up. What it would cost the landlord to invest in the building to fix any of these issues in the buildings have gone up a lot, and they can't recoup the money, so they stopped doing that. So they've created this entire situation. And because people lack even the most basic understanding of the most basic amount of economics, they think that somehow these people just want to have crappy apartments. Like that's just what they're providing. They could invest in it. They're not going to. No, that's just not the way. That's not the way that the market works. You put a price cap like this on anything in the market that any of us buy, any of these things, you put a price cap on this. I'm looking around on this laptop, on this Stanley Cup right here. You do any of that on any of those items. And as the costs go up to maintain those things, those people will stop making them better. That's just what's going to happen over time. And that is what has happened over time in New York. Can we
also inspect government housing and do a comparison?
And this essentially is, oh man, I've been in some government housing before. And
done some work.
It's not great. Let's see. He did a little infomercial here. Let's see.
Have you ever rented an apartment in New York only to find yourself not just paying rent, but application fees, amenity fees, credit score checks? In a city filled with old buildings that could use some tender loving care, some landlords are taking advantage of the housing market to gouge tenants with outrageous fees, all while leaving them trying to survive in homes with collapsing ceilings and sinking floors. It's time for that to change. We need a citywide crackdown on rental ripoffs. We need to take on the indignities from those landlords who demand more than their fair share. That's why our administration is organizing.
We're going to take on the indignities from landlords that are demanding more than their fair share. As someone said in the group earlier, I don't have it pulled up right now, but like this, at this point, if you're still in New York, you either voted for exactly this and you're going to get what you voted for, or you've decided that you don't care. And so you're just going to, you're just going to have to deal with it. That's what's going on here. Or just get out.
Yep.
That's like you've known for a bit that it's time to get out. Now, on top of that, he, now let me get to the press release here. Where is that? There we go. Today, on his very first day as mayor of New York City, Mayor Mamdani signed 3 executive orders to confront the city's housing crisis, revitalizing the mayor's office to protect tenants and establishing 2 new task forces to accelerate housing construction, get New Yorkers into homes faster, and increase supply. The mayor also announced the appointment of nationally recognized tenant organizer and housing advocate, C. Weaver, as director of the newly revitalized mayor's office to protect tenants. Weaver currently serves as executive director of Housing Justice for All and New York State Tenant Block. She played a pivotal role in securing passage of the Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act 2019, landmark legislation that closed loopholes, allowing landlords to dramatically raise rents and deregulate rents. So she's part of the problem. She played a pivotal role in creating the issue that many people are upset about right now. They've got a bunch of glowing things to say about her in the press release. And then some stuff started coming out. A couple videos of her started coming out. And then turns out someone was smart and they had screenshot a bunch of her old past crazy X posts because she deleted her X account after she got appointed to this position. But luckily, someone noticed that she was in Mamdani's campaign, and we ought to take note of all the crazy crap she's saying all the time. Let's get this clip. Here we go.
At $5 billion, we hope to be able to set up and staff the agency, but also build new housing across the state, as well as acquire distressed housing across the state. The mechanisms for acquiring distressed housing could look different on a building by building basis. In some cases, what happens is tenants form a tenant association, they have a scofflaw landlord or someone who's not making repairs, and they could pressure, using organizing tactics, they could pressure to the Social Housing Development Authority to take over their homes, to buy their homes. In other cases, you might happen through like a legal process. A couple of days ago, one of the most notorious slumlords in the city, his name is Obshalom. He was arrested because he is treating his tenants so badly, hundreds of thousands of open code violations. In cases like that, where the city is actively pursuing already sort of litigation and enforcement mechanisms against the landlord, the SHDA is an option. We can say, hey, you are not maintaining this building, and we are the city of New York. We have an interest in making sure that housing is well maintained, and we're going to take this building away from you.
Would you need a host of like a
All right, so there's that. I'm going to go through some of the posts here in a
individualized
sec.
good and not a collective good. I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good, and we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently, and it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
Well, just got to get that especially white families part in there because that's super important when you're trying to solve a housing problem. So from Michelle Tandler, who went through and got all of these old posts. So thanks for screenshotting those. Here's a few of the great past posts from this person who's going to be heading up the housing problem. She says, there's no such thing as a good gentrifier, only people who are actively working on projects to dismantle white supremacy and capitalism, and people who aren't. She says, instead of blaming folks for not having access to a mortgage in a rich neighborhood, we could tax the rich, invest in public goods, stop all evictions, and fund safe, stable public housing for everyone. Happy Mother's Day. She says, rent control and public housing for everyone, you guys. Massive government interventions to solve gentrification. It's just this. Hey, this is what the people voted for.
This is what
great.
happens, and like God, the left did such a good job at infiltrating academiology.
Oh yeah,
like this person.
She's an epidemiologist.
This person has just been fed these terms, and then they, they have a little bit of empathy, and so like they learn these things in school, and it's just like, oh my God, I've got to do something about that. This is awful.
She becomes a self-hating white person. She feels bad.
It's so unbelievable.
Would you guess that her mom is well off or super poor?
Probably well off.
Yeah, probably well off. Do
we know that?
Her mom owns a $1.6 million house here in Nashville, actually. Which is fine. That's fine for her mom to own that. That's great. I'm just saying this is what happens. These people grow up.
I bet her
with
mom's a narcissist. They don't get along.
Yeah.
So
these people grow up with like rich parents, and they become this left. I think if you grow up rich, the left woke mind virus, it's like a cleavage site, for the woke mind virus.
Yeah.
To grow.
It has a spike protein.
There's a spike protein
that attaches
and a cleavage
to rich children or children of rich parents.
She says, this is in response to someone, I agree with you unless you're talking about rent control, which is a perfect solution to everything. Okay. She says, I don't really disagree with this, but a couple things. I think pass really strong rent control is a more effective way to shrink the value of real estate than reducing rezoning applications. She's talking about ways to shrink the value of real estate. This country built wealth for white people through genocide, slavery, stolen land, and labor. White supremacy built the North and the South. She says private property, including and kind of especially homeownership, is a weapon of white supremacy, masquerading as wealth building public policy. The proper response, which, by the way, this is why Mamdani picked her. It's not like a shock that all this stuff just came out. The proper response for this kind of stuff, which, by the way, the largest racial demographic in New York is white people. And this person clearly hates white people, obviously. And so that's a weird thing. Now, if it were anyone talking about any other racial demographic in this kind of specific way, they'd be gone immediately, obviously. We all know that. But this is like acceptable discourse still in 2026. The proper response by Mamdani would have been to get rid of her immediately. But instead, he was like, yeah, we know about her past stuff. We love her.
This is perfect fit.
Let's see. In the meantime, new and white residents are going to benefit as the whole city is planned around their interests. Okay, so the city's planned around white people. White nationalism is a disease. It's killing us. The planet is rapidly becoming unlivable. Resources are being hoarded by rich people for profit. I'm super inspired by Democratic Socialist America environment and can't wait to get to work.
And by the way, she's talking about the planet. So globally, white people are a minority.
Yeah. So, yeah. And a dwindling minority, actually.
We're the least We're the smallest race.
And she says, impoverish the white middle class. Homeownership is racist / failed public policy.
Gosh.
This is a person working in the government. WTF. I came across a mob of 11-year-old white boy children rapping Eminem very loud on Windsor Terrace. And to be honest, I don't know why we keep procreating. What compels white women to buy tote bags that say "Make America Rational Again"? Oh, I don't like tote bags. She says the KKK is a violent Christian group. Delta should kick all white people in Christmas outfits off of planes to keep everyone safe during the busy travel day. And this is one clearly from Mamdani. Says, people often ask what socialists mean when we say we want to decommodify housing. Basically, we want to move away from a situation where most people access housing by purchasing it on the market and toward a situation where the state guarantees high-quality housing to all. And the unfortunate part about that is that, first off, the state only has money that it stole from people that were participating in the market. That's the only way it gets any money. And so it's going to go out onto the market. It's going to devalue a bunch of these things so they can buy it at cheaper prices. And then it's going to act in its own little state devalue market, all while taking money from other people who are actually doing productive things in society. It's going to have to get other things that exist in the market bought and sold by other people, like to fix up the houses, to get people to build the houses, to get materials from all around the world that are also a part of that market. And they're going to have to participate in that. And they're going to pretend like it's the state guaranteeing housing, but they're going to be taking money from everyone else just to pay for all of those things. And then tell you, well, we're not operating in the market. Like, no, the whole market's still existing. It's just we stole your money and we're paying for it. And we're going to tell you it's free or cheaper or something like that. Drives me nuts, and these people deserve everything that's coming.
Yeah.
Honestly. Number 4. This one's called Trump housing. For a long time, a very long time, buying and owning a home was considered the pinnacle of the American dream. It was the reward for working hard and doing the right thing. But now, because of the record high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress, that American dream is increasingly out of reach for far too many people, especially younger Americans. It is for that reason and much more that I'm immediately taking steps to ban large institutional investors from buying more single-family homes. And I will be calling on Congress to codify it. People live in homes, not corporations. People live in homes, not corporations. I will discuss this topic, including further housing and affordability proposals and more, at my speech in Davos in 2 weeks. And I get, this is an issue that I say this is almost like an 80-20 issue. It's, what I'm about to say, and this whole problem is non-existent, and it's given people a boogeyman to talk about without addressing the real underlying problems. That's very unpopular to say right now, because people don't, the root cause of the problem. No, we want to keep doing that. We're just going to solve something that's an outgrowth of that root cause of the problem, and then tell you that we fixed it.
Yeah, all they know is what they feel right now, which is like, I can't afford a house. It's too expensive.
And it must be because that large institutional investor bought up all the housing.
The easy answer is always greed or something along those lines. It's not, well, what is causing this issue?
The problem is
there is an issue of a housing shortage. That is true.
There is. It's not caused by these people buying houses, because guess what? There's numbers on that kind of stuff.
Right.
We know how many houses there are. We know how many houses are there are about to be. We know how many of them getting bought and sold. We know how many of them are owned by large institutional investors. And we know that the number is extremely small. Now, in some areas...
I heard Bill Gates is buying up everything. and so is China.
In some areas, which don't even get me started on this idea that, like, people live in houses, not corporations. Okay, well, tell you what. Can't get a mortgage either. Just you can't get that house until you save up all the money to buy that house. And then that's what you're going to be able to pay for it, because...
The banks own the house.
Because the bank owns the house when you get it, just so you know, because you didn't have the money to buy the house. You asked someone else for the money to buy the house.
A large institution,
yes.
Likely.
So tell you what, once you can save up all the money to go buy that house, then you can go buy that house. Let's just agree with that. No, you're still going to go to someone else and you're going to let them own the house. All right, the other thing, the numbers don't bear this out, okay? Institutionally owned single family rental, 0.5% of the total single family housing stock. As far as Blackstone, which is, by the way, everyone says BlackRock. BlackRock doesn't own any homes. It's Blackstone that owns the homes. And
does BlackRock own Blackstone?
I don't know, maybe 0.06% of that is Blackstone. It's a percentage that is not going to bear out in like what the median price of a home is in America. Now, what you can do, like if you were going to try and manage, let's say you said this is a problem and we're going to try and manage it. I wouldn't support this because I don't support really anything the government does. But what you could do is, if you were going to do this, you could set a cap on the percentage of the total housing stock or whatever that large institutional investor or that large institution could buy in, say, like a county. That'd be a better way of looking at it, because there are specific counties where the percentage gets pretty high, and it probably affects prices a bit when you have that person who's got a ton of money and can come in and pay a higher price for it.
Largely around urban areas.
Yeah. For the most part, looks like, I think there's an area in Georgia, I think around Atlanta. Maybe this is a little bit of a bigger issue, but by bigger issue, I mean the number's still below 10% at that point. Most of the time, it's well below 1% everywhere. I mean, me personally, I feel good knowing that my house that's in a crappy neighborhood now is going to get bought by a big company when I go to sell it. I don't got to worry about making sure that this person's looking for their forever home when they come looking for my house because he knows he's going to come get it. Same company that owns the house next door to mine. That's who's going to come buy my house. And so I feel pretty good about this whole thing. I'm talking my book right now, so I'm telling you guys, I don't want to ban this. No, let me, this is a chart I've shown before. Like I said, there's data on all this stuff. There's housing shortages, and you can look at that by state, and you can look at what percentage of the housing stock is owned by these large institutional investors. And what you would find in nearly every single case, except for Georgia, actually, that does seem to be one of the big ones. If you were to take out the institutionally owned housing, you would not even notice, you would barely notice a difference in the shortage of housing that they have in those areas. So once again, we're dealing with a supply problem, not the fact that these companies are buying up these houses. All right. And then to just like throw gas on the fire on top of that. By the way, he's also instructed, which I don't even know if he can do this. He says Biden ignored the housing market and instead was immersed in high crime, open borders, runaway away inflation, the Afghan disaster, and the military that left in chaos and confusion. Everything was broken, but I, as president of the United States, have already fixed it. That's good. Now I'm giving special attention to the housing market because I chose not to sell Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in my first term. A truly great decision and against the advice of the experts. It is now worth many times that amount, an absolute fortune, and has $200 billion in cash. Because of this, I'm instructing my representatives to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds. This will drive mortgage rates down, monthly payments down, and make the cost of owning a home more affordable.
Doesn't matter what they're rated, by the way.
So, thank you for immediately going to that. We've got a housing problem, and what's our solution? You know what? I think Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac should come in and buy a bunch of mortgage bonds. I mean, I can't believe he thought about this on his own.
We've never tried that before.
No, this has never even happened before. I can't believe.
God.
And guess what?
America.
It will push the rates down by a little bit, by like 0.25% is what people are talking about. And then that could equal a little bit lower payment, which in turn would actually equal more demand for homes. Probably the underlying cost of the homes is going to go up because of that. And, there's this scene in The Big Short. I know that that's not a, word for word representation.
It's a documentary
of history. But I have watched videos of a bunch of the people, the main characters in The Big Short, the actual people.
Christian Bale.
Have gone, like Michael Burry and all these people have gone through and said, yeah, that happened. No, that didn't happen. Like I've watched hours of videos because I love that movie. And there's this part in the movie where Steve Carell's character asked, like, aren't you worried about the underlying risk of he's talking to those bros down in Florida or wherever. He's like, aren't you worried about the underlying risk of these mortgages? And he's like, if I give someone a mortgage on Friday, big bank's going to buy it by Monday afternoon. So they didn't care. It was essentially the thing. And that's essentially what this is. They're just saying, hey, big banks, go buy this up. Just go buy up all of them. So that's going to create more demand for the mortgages.
Well, but also the government.
Yes.
So who's going to be holding the what do you call it? I can't think of my analogy right now. Whatever. Who's going to be holding the potato when it's hot? Who's going
to be left holding the bag?
Yeah, something like that. Who's going to be left holding the onion?
Yes.
When it's on fire.
Who is going to be left with the hot potato when the music stops and there's no chair?
Yeah. It's now the government.
Yep.
By the way.
That's who's going to do it.
What incentive does that give the banks? Oh, do we need to verify your income? No, you can afford this house. We're gonna give you this mortgage, and by the afternoon, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are gonna have it. So it's off my books, on to theirs.
Okay, so we can keep moving. The next one, I just want to take a break from talking bad about the Trump administration to remind you that Democrats are insane. Here is a candlelight vigil for January 6th.
This didn't actually happen.
It's a moment of silence, Charlie. Moment of silence.
Is this real life?
It's real life, yeah.
Wait, Jasmine Crockett doesn't have a...
So silent.
Is that her on the right there? She doesn't have a candle.
So don't lose sight of the fact that Democrats are batshit crazy. Please don't.
Man, most of my candlelight vigils I've been to, the candles are much smaller.
Is it AI or not? I don't know. I saw no community note on the video, no proposed community note on the video, and no immediate claims of AI on the video. But if it is, we'll accept that and we'll still leave it in dumb because it's so gosh darn believable regardless. Oh, okay, she's being sarcastic. It's so ridiculous you have to think that there is a better chance of this being AI than it not, right? Like AI is becoming a thing, man.
Yeah.
There's a video going around of the Minneapolis shooting. It essentially shows the cop getting pushed like 5-6 feet backwards really quick, like dragged almost by that car. It's fake. It's been altered to carry the cop for like 5 or 6 feet before he gets off there. That's not what happened.
That's wild.
And it's still going around with millions and millions and millions of views. And so I'm leaning towards don't believe anything ever. Especially when it comes, I mean, like CCTV footage, stuff like that. The stuff's already grainy to begin with. It's easy to AI that mess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else we got? Let's see. That's number 5. How about number 6? What time is it right now? Oh, you need time. I'm gonna skip the Thomas Massie thing. We've talked plenty about that. To give you a little bit of backstory on that, because I know Charlie's got to prep for a call coming up here in a bit. Donald Trump went on another massive rant about Thomas Massie. Ed Galrain, who's running against Thomas Massie in the 4th District, criticized Thomas Massie for not congratulating our brave soldiers who went and got Maduro.
Saved, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the grade he has on immigration.
Oh, I didn't bring that one in. The F on immigration. Yeah. He's like, oh, that's the only thing. If you have an F on immigration, then the other stuff matters.
But it's not true. It was only one vote.
Yeah.
His actual grade on immigration as a whole is an A.
Really?
Yeah.
I
guess I should have explained it to you, and it probably would have made it.
Yeah. Well, I just assumed that it was a super right-wing, harsh on immigration group that was like giving him an F, basically because he was against Trump using through executive order, taking money from the Department of Defense, I think, or FEMA or whatever.
That's the one bill he voted no on. All the other immigration bills he's voted yes for.
Yeah. Okay.
So he has an A or A minus. It's not an A plus.
I got you.
But all they did was display that one grade on that one bill and try to say Thomas Massie overall has an F on immigration, which isn't true.
Yeah.
It's just And to be like that deceitful, they're no different than the left, man. These MAGA people, not all of them, but most of them, a lot of them, they're using the same tactics. And it's just so annoying, man. And a lot of people eat it up.
Yeah.
And to me, it's dumb. And it didn't make it this week. Maybe next week. I don't know.
Well, it's only...
I'm not good enough, I guess. My submissions. I need to explain it better.
One of the critiques on the Massey one, though, mostly peaceful memes in response to Massey being upset about the Maduro thing, said, imagine wearing a U.S. debt counter and crying that we took control of $17 trillion in oil. And that's just the kind of thing that people eat up also, as if somehow we just put this 17 trillion on our books.
What is this, 1497?
It's just not... We didn't take control, and that much oil.
Thomas, son, I'm expanding our kingdom while you while away shooting bows and arrows in the hall.
That's what people are arguing for right now, man. If you're coming out against like expanding the empire, you're a problem. You might as well be an anarchist.
God,
these days, if you don't want to expand the empire. So if you don't want the federal government to get immensely bigger, then you're an anarchist.
Yeah.
That's basically the thing. So now on some dumb stuff.
We just act as all humans act for all of history.
Some dumb stuff about the COPE on Venezuela. No, it really is the same thing. It's like we keep thinking that it's different or whatever, but we're still just humans. It's just the way.
I mean, you think
it's all boiling down right now. So we're just people.
You think people have celebrated, Caesar before for his expansion, or Alexander the Great? Have you heard of Trump the Trump?
Well, the way they get you though is like, I like America what it is right now. I'm fine with that. Although technically I would be fine if we got rid of Hawaii. I'd be fine with that because it doesn't make a ton of sense, and the people there are like still upset about it right now. So I get that. But when people ask like, well, aren't you glad that we did the Louisiana Purchase? Aren't you glad that we bought Alaska? And I'm like, well, they're pretty important places, honestly.
At least we bought them.
Honestly, I don't even know if we would still exist as a country if those purchases wouldn't have taken place. And so then where they get you is like, well, in the future, we wouldn't exist as a country if we don't have Greenland. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even though we've already got military bases at Greenland, as you and I both been to. It's cold. People there were depressed.
Now it's renamed, by the way.
I don't know what it's
called. Space
now.
Force base.
Yeah.
It's Pajukit. It's a weird name. I think it's a Greenlandic name. Pajekit.
Trying to appease the locals.
It's a Spaceballs Force base now.
Some cope about the Venezuela regime change effort. M Wokeness says Trump said no wars, and they said if it's over before you blink, it's not a war. It's definitely an act of war, just so you know. They say this is really for the oil, and they say, okay, we just gained 17 trillion worth of oil without a drop of American blood loss. Your problem? It's not even true. In multiple ways is that not true. We didn't gain control over it, first off. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. And second, as I went through on Wednesday, this whole 300 billion barrels of oil that Venezuela has is BS. You know where those numbers came from? Chavez and PDVSA. And that was oil that they decided was economically viable to get when oil was $100 a barrel.
Well,
and so it's...
I think you have to go a little bit deeper. That's based on
for that oil, yeah, you do have to go deeper. Yeah.
Well, it's based on the research from Chevron, though. It's not like because Venezuela didn't really have a metric of measuring that.
Well, this didn't happen until 2011. They knew the oil existed. They know about the oil. They knew about it in 2011. The price went up to $100 a barrel, and they said, poof, we have 3 times more oil than we did right now. The problem is that number has not been revised since the number went down to $50 a barrel. And back when it was that price, they only had 100 billion barrels of oil. And so it's all about whether or not it's economically viable for people to go get. That's the problem. And people will say, oh, we have all this oil, it's going to be cheap. Well, if it's cheap, you don't have that oil. And if you have that oil's not cheap. Those two things can't exist at the same time.
Because it's not as much of a scarce resource.
No. International law. I don't care about international law. I'm not mad about that. America first. They say dominating our hemisphere is America first. I didn't even bring in the Monroe Doctrine, which I talked about a lot on Monday, I believe, and they ignored half the Monroe Doctrine, the first part that says we don't mess with the affairs of other countries.
Yeah.
They've ignored that.
Now, look, I will say, I may have a different position than you on this but I'm going to say I don't know what to do about it because it feels like it goes against my principles, but I also think
just say it.
But I also think it's a problem. What do you do about bad actors taking land and building military bases in places that are legitimately close to the United States? What do you do about that? Because there is a lot of articles that I've seen that have a history that go back the last 20 years where China and Russia are doing a ton of investment and development in not only Venezuela, but other South American countries and Caribbean countries and in Greenland. And it looks to be that Russia or China, I can't remember, I think it's China actually, has created a ice-breaking ship that's actually going to open up a shipping lane across the Arctic Ocean. So that's going to be an important shipping lane to control because it's drastically going to cut down on shipping times. Or the fact that it makes it way easier to send ballistic missiles or hypersonic missiles. I understand. What do you do about if you're a free market person, but then someone's a bad actor? And the truth is, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. If I'm trying to think of if I scale this down to a neighborhood, okay? And I own a house and there's I'm surrounded by 100 houses but all of the properties start getting bought up by my enemies.
Rental companies.
Well, let's just say my enemies who want me dead or my enemies who want to make me so poor I die anyway.
Problem with this analogy is in that one, you move out of the neighborhood probably.
We can't move though.
I know we can't move.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can't move.
Okay.
So do you try to strategically hold on to some of the houses so that they can't buy those? And you make it here's the thing. I don't know the answer. These are just questions I've thought about over the last couple of weeks as I've seen some of this play out, where it's I have my principles, but I'm trying to also think outside the box. What do you do about these things? Because there are people who are bad actors. And I don't know what the right answer is. I don't think going in and extracting a leader of another country, whether he's legitimate or not, I think there are other ways we could oust a delegitimate leader through foreign policy and other metrics. I don't know if that's the right answer. I do like it better than having a full-scale war like we did in Iraq and Syria and Lebanon and Libya and all of these other places where we've toppled dictators by having large-scale militaristic action. We've talked a long time on the show about how we have elite special forces that could go and do this kind of thing without killing very many people, no American lives lost, and they executed that plan that we've been saying for years we could do. I think it's better. Is it right? I don't know.
It is better, and I do think that they have learned some lessons of the past in deciding to leave Maduro's government intact. The regime is still intact, just Maduro's here in a jail cell.
Yeah, I know. The defense minister is still there.
Everyone's still there. Everyone is still there right now. It's still the Maduro regime. It's just his vice president is the president now.
Yeah, and they're all on the list.
And by the way, she's an actual ideological commie, not like an authoritarian strongman like Maduro is. But so far, she's at least looking like she's going to play ball. Look, man, I don't know what the exact answer is to all of this, which is why, honestly, I try to not talk about foreign policy very much, because I do have there are such a thing as bad actors and like people who just want to go around the world killing people. But I've got to be careful here and make sure.
Let's just take war away from it. What about bad economic actors?
Sure.
Because like, look, you have to consider that principally we're free market people, and we think the best thing for the planet, for everyone globally, every civilization would be to have free trade. But you have people like China who manipulate the market, and it is like
we're not doing great on free trade right now either.
No, I know we're not, but you have to ask the question, like, okay, if you start to become surrounded by people who are bad actors economically, like, do you allow your country to become third world because you're so principally stanced? I think there are potentially better ways of going about it. I don't know what the answers are, but these are just some of the questions that I'm like, you know, I understand. I think I understand what Trump is doing here, which is, hey, look, crossing the Western Hemisphere is a no-no. Like, you can't invest or, you know, make contracts or have rights to, you know, rare earth minerals or whatever in the Western Hemisphere. Like, you have the East, whatever, do that stuff over there.
We're still giving Taiwan billions of dollars to protect from China, taking like the 2-mile hike down to Taiwan to do their thing there. So that's not an actual principle. It's just a convenient thing to say for them, not you. I'm not saying that to you. I'm just saying it's not an actual like principle that they hold near and dear to their heart. Maybe it is for us, or like for our hemisphere, but or like, you know, Russia going to Ukraine. They're pretty close to Ukraine. You know, we've been bugging them over there about that now for a bit, spending a bunch of money. And actually, the more arguments they make about China and Russia being involved in Venezuela, the more I'm like, well, you know, maybe Russia had a reason to be worried about all the stuff we were doing in Ukraine and all the other countries around them.
Think about how close we are to not existing, by the way, because of the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Pretty close.
So, okay.
Couple good people away from not existing.
So what happened? Okay, Russia came to Cuba on our doorstep and started building military bases, and they had hidden submarines all throughout the Caribbean and all kinds of stuff, and they made it way easier for them to have the capability on and be closer to humans not existing because they were able to be on our doorstep in Cuba.
Yeah.
And I did see where Trump said Cuba's next or whatever. So
they've been getting a bunch of
the thing
subsidized
is,
crap from
what
Venezuela.
I'm saying is I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
And I think we should be allowed to ask these questions.
Sure.
And we should be able to say, okay, there should be better ways of going about this. I think the framers knew this, which is why they created the federal government. Like, how do you negotiate diplomatically with foreign dignitaries?
Worst thing they ever did.
It has a lot of bad things, but I don't know. I think there is a world in which, you know, let's say Chinese communism can take over the world.
My thing is, when it comes to what do we do about these bad actors, even economically, is to make sure, like, first off, that they are bad actors. Like, we're the ones that have been going around the world blowing up a bunch of countries and killing millions of people for a long time. I know. But first, I want to make sure that the de facto idea that these are super dangerous bad actors, I want to make sure that they don't see us as a threat because we are the country that has been going around killing people and blowing up different countries for a long time. And if that is the case, we should stop doing that. And then if we think capitalism and all that's the best way, and that's the best way for everyone to live, I think that we should stop destroying capitalism in America, and that will help solve the problem. It will be so much better than any of those other nations that to do something to us would be to destroy themselves in the process because they just can't survive without us, which I think is a lot of the problems these places have had. So I'm saying even further down to the root cause of the problem is, you know, we're talking about a symptom of something that our government might be aiding, might have been aiding and creating for a really long time here. Is it inevitable that we have to be these enemies with China and Russia? We have to. There just inevitably has to be a war with China eventually. There's got to be.
That's why I think there could be a better way. Here's the thing. Why not be a better investment or be a better chosen partner for Venezuela than China is?
Yeah.
You know,
good.
like make it to in the free market, make it to where Venezuela chooses America to partner with, to mine their rare earth minerals to
well, and we
be
were
oil
until
partners.
they got all high and mighty. We got all high and mighty about them not being a democracy and stuff, after their elections and cracking down on protests and all that. And
they did steal American companies.
Yeah, they did do that. Yeah. That's not what this is about either.
Yeah.
If it were, we'd take a bunch of their oil, sell it, and then give it to the companies and say, all right, see you later. That was rough, wasn't it? Don't do it again.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I have to bring up before I know that you're about needing to go.
Well, and here's the other thing. There is something called BRICS, so
yeah.
Is Brazil next?
They've been.
And then look, Russia's been buying gold for 20 years and talking about backing their currency against gold.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing.
Venezuela's got some
if
gold.
America, and I'm not saying this is right, but here's a promise I can make you, is that if America loses the petrodollar or trade in the dollar at all, we're fucked. Okay? That's just as plain as English as I can say it.
And that's why we got to keep spreading all this money around the world. So people transact in that money.
So I don't know what the right answer is. The right answer is maybe we should be, because we did this wrong. It was wrong. What we've done over the last 100 years, let's say. I think but that's going to be very painful, like extremely painful.
Yeah.
Like a lot of death, painful.
It wouldn't be good.
No.
Even though.
So, do you keep fighting to uphold the apparatus?
This is why we're not going to be working in foreign policy anytime soon.
No, I know, but I think it's good to have
economics.
I think it's good to have these nuanced conversations.
Yeah. No, it is. That way.
I want to get people thinking.
One of my biggest issues is people are always so black and white, binary on every single thing. And there is nuance, and there are real discussions that happen when you get into these rooms. And we're like, okay, well, that's fine, but it's all going to collapse, and 20 million people in America are going to die. Once this all collapses, and you're like, okay, well, I guess drop that bomb then, fine. And you got to make that choice. I'm not saying I would make that choice. I'm not the guy to make that choice at all. I did have to ask you what you think about Trump's new plan to cut the military budget in half and then increase it by 3 times that much. Wait.
Awful.
I think I said that wrong, but regardless, he wants to not have a $1 trillion military budget, but in order to fulfill Charlie's dream of empire and conquest, it is going to be necessary that we have a $1.5 trillion military budget, at least in 2027. Is this a one-time military budget? No, I didn't even say that. He said this could be necessary to keep people safe, by the way. And we'll finally have an unparalleled military force. It's crumbling still right now. Our military is like the thing you got to keep blowing in to keep the ball up in the air. And as soon as you stop increasing, it's not even that you got to do constant. As soon as you stop increasing, the ball just falls down. When the ball falls down, China invades California. And that's just how it goes. Russia walks across the bridge in Alaska, and it's all terrible things happen.
I would how about we find out whether or not we're spending the money wisely.
Why do you hate the troops? Are you saying that you want the troops sleeping on the ground and having to skip meals?
Yeah.
You don't want them to be able to change their socks? Mm-hmm. You got to take good care of your feet. Don't you know that taking care of your feet is the difference between a live grunt and a dead grunt, Charlie? And you want them to decrease their sock rations? I
learned socks are the most important thing.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I know.
Keep your feet dry.
Okay. This is ridiculous. The military budget.
You said 3 times that much. It is right, because he wanted to cut it in half to $500 billion, and now $1.5 trillion is 3 times as much as what he promised in the Oval Office.
Okay, so I did say that right.
You said it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I said it wrong because I said increase it by 3 times that much. That's the wrong way.
Well, of his proposed cut.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So this is ridiculous
it's 50%. He wants 50% more than what it currently is.
Yeah.
But that's 300% more than what the cut would have been that he talked about in the Oval Office.
And then we'll be safe after that.
Yeah.
Then we'll finally be safe. No, the government, the military probably wastes $500 billion every year.
And now they get to waste another $500 billion.
I mean, I'm not just talking about you saw this program and it was a waste, or you saw, like, when they show you a bolt that they paid $800 for or something like that. Well, the bolt should have been $1. It's also the case with all the other stuff they make and the things that end up costing like $1 or $2 billion or something like that. They do it with a bolt, and then they do it with ships. They do it with every part of the ship. They do it with how much they pay for the wiring that goes in before they put in the paneling of the ship. They do it with every single piece of every single equipment that happens. They pay too much money for it. And so we do not need...
Well, not only what they build, but they have all backups.
Yeah.
And people backing them up.
They got to. And then they got warehouses of backups that they forgot existed.
Just parts upon parts.
Just parts for stuff. And then, God, no, we don't need to do this.
All right. Unfortunately, I got to go, so you're going to have to send these people off.
Yeah, well, I still got one more dumb.
So anyway, thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, thanks for joining.
Really appreciate.
I appreciate
all
you
of
being
you
here,
guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Dumb Bleep and get your votes in. And Nate's gonna send you guys off.
Well, we got to talk about Dan Bongino. First.
Vagina?
Bongino, yeah.
Vagina.
Dan Bongino.
Okay. All right. Love you. Bye.
Before we get out of here, so thanks for hanging out.
Hopefully, I contributed something of useful value.
I'm sure it's in there. I'll go look at the transcript later, but probably.
Love you. Bye.
Thanks for hanging out. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way. The real show starts. You're blocking my camera. All right, see you, man. Thanks for hanging out. Where were we? Number 8. Yes. Some other ridiculous things about this is, of course, bringing up the money coming in from tariffs, things like that. I thought we were going to end the income tax. I thought we were going to do tariff refunds. They're probably still going to do tariff refund checks or whatever it is they want to call it someday, right before the election, something like that. It's an absolutely ridiculous idea that the budget needs to go up to $1.5 trillion, and it's probably going to happen. And it reminds me of, I wish I had pulled up the clip. In the days of Doge, we were showing clips of Elon Musk going around talking about how we're now spending more on the interest on our debt than what we spend for the military. And just clip after clip of how the interest on the debt will be more than the military. And the joke that I had was they'll solve the problem. We're just going to spend more on the military. Problem solved. And now we have solved the problem of the interest on our debt being more than the military. If we were to do this, just increase that over what the interest is. Now we don't have that problem anymore. There were a lot of stuff with the Venezuela thing. I'm glad that we were able to actually have a nice nuanced conversation about the Venezuela thing for Dumb Bleep number 7. Those conversations are absolutely necessary. These things, I think, honestly, are not, when you are dealing with where we are right now, it's not as easy for each one of those decisions. We should not lose sight of how we got into any of these situations. And we should not continue doing the things that led to us getting us into these situations. Similar to what the great Ron Paul said in his response to Giuliani when talking about 9/11. But we continue to make these situations worse. We continue to move further and further away from a free market, further and further away from capitalism. And then we have to keep relying more and more on the state to try and protect our interest, because the thing that protected our interest beforehand, I think, was our economic powerhouse. And I don't know how long that's going to be going. Let me get to number 9. I want to talk about Dan Bongino real quick. Dan Bongino, as people are calling him right now. So he was at the FBI for less than a year. Before that, had a podcast I guess it was a big podcast. I don't know. I've literally never watched it before. Other than the clips I've seen of him talking about how obvious the Epstein cover-up was and how he obviously didn't kill himself and how there was obviously a big blackmail operation going on, clearly, and how it involved intelligence agencies and many people in our government were in on it. Other than like clips specifically of him talking about Epstein back before he was a member of the U.S. government, I've never seen a show before. That's the point that I'm saying right now. But he's back. He's left the FBI. And you could have gone one of two ways. Now, the problem with the way Dan Bongino probably initially wanted to go was that he destroyed all of the trust that he had built up with many people. And many of the people that used to be in his audience thinking that he was this really good guy that was just going to tell you the truth all the time because he's such a great dude. Once they saw him go up there multiple times and say, yeah, I saw the evidence and Epstein killed himself. Sorry. Which by that evidence has not been released. I thought maybe that could be some of the first evidence that came out in the Epstein files. But we don't have that evidence. But apparently he saw it. We just can't see it yet. After all this time telling people, I mean, this is a guy who was apparently a member of the government beforehand. And so he comes out and he tells people, I'm telling you now, there is a conspiracy. And then he gets in there and he says, actually, turns out there's nothing to see here. This is just one guy and his weird girlfriend that were just obsessed with underage girls. And that's just all we had. Sorry, we got no evidence of anything. He's destroyed his trust with many of the people who used to listen to him, clearly. Now, he can't come out and say, sorry, I said what I had to say. He can't do that. He would probably disappear after that happened. Or he wouldn't have had the opportunity to come back and talk in the first place. He can't do that. So he's got to rile up a different base. And the different base he has to rile up are the people that just get very upset anytime you talk about President Trump in a negative way. Anytime you talk about anything the administration has done wrong, could have clearly done better, has completely ignored, anytime you bring up any of that, you're this black pillar, negative Nancy. It's all you are. You're hurting the movement. What's the movement? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what that is. But here's a clip for some context.
Endless complaining, then just don't watch the shows. It's okay. Like, this is a constitutional republic. You're not obligated to listen to my show. Justin, what was the line on the air with Jim? It's not a freaking airport, man. You don't have to announce your departure. Like, you get these black pillars. The thing about black pillars where everything sucks all the time is, they're like, well, we're demanding accountability, but you're not great. So am I. That's not what you're endlessly complaining about things you don't know anything about. Like, that's all you do. Like, he'll shut down the border, 10 people across the month. Why wasn't it 0? Okay, well, can you just acknowledge going from 1 million to 10 is a big deal? That way, and there's a cost to that. And the cost you see is in, polling numbers around the midterms. You can't let this negative vibe constantly set in. That doesn't mean healthy debates about policy are not welcome. Hey, I'm not a big tariff guy. I've said that 1,000 times. Debating policies are fine. I think a lot of the so-called damage from the tariffs was dramatically over-exaggerated. Even people who don't like them having to acknowledge that now. The economy's motoring, 4% growth. But the black pill complaining and whining all the time about the administration, it's just like, man, what team are you on? Holy Moses, man. So you don't have to watch. It's okay. There's a door, go find the...
I mean, he's right that people don't have to watch. That's very true. People don't have to watch. You don't have to go there and complain on the show or whatever. But if you want to go troll them and everything, I think some people have been having a good time doing that, and more power to you if you got time to do that kind of thing. Of course, like the example he gives as a ridiculous example, like, oh, the border crossings went down to 10. Why isn't it 0? No one's complaining about that at all. They're maybe complaining that inflation's still 3%, whatever the exact number is. We keep doing wars, acts of war, not focusing so much on affordability here at home. Oh yeah, and the Epstein thing. That's another big one. It's probably the principal reason that he ended up being at the FBI in the first place. Has he, I don't even know if he's addressed this yet. Has he come out and apologized to people for evidently just spinning a bunch of BS for years leading up to him getting in there and getting to look at the information and seeing that everything he had said and believed was incorrect? I haven't heard him apologize. I'm not saying that he hasn't apologized, but to just kind of brush over it, that ain't going to work. And he's in a fight right now with Dave Smith. And it's getting really weird. He said this: the lib black pillar symbiote is a funny little organism. It's even led by a comedian, in quotes. These morons can't even follow their own battle plan. Quick example, I do a guest hit last night on the podcast, and the lib black pillar symbiote starts rage tweeting, no one is going to watch when it's the #1 live stream in the slot. They melted down again, claiming that that was just us there to attack you. Do these clowns know how this business works? And when you point out here on X that what a bunch of dipshits they are, they start rage engaging again. I've been dealing with these tools for 15 years, and this is why they always implode. They're just too stupid to coordinate. Today's lesson is concluded. Now, Dave Smith responds back and says, yeah, nice story. Why'd you lie about Epstein? Bongino comes out and says that's hilarious. The weird part about this is that he comes out and says, watching you advertise your dipshittery on a series of debates over the past year was my guilty pleasure while I was working. So I guess Dan Bongino, has been just following Dave Smith's debates. Like, what the? That's weird. Now go back. He says, now go back to your mama's spare room and write me some jokes. And get your shine box too. My shoes got a scuff last night while lighting up the live stream while your clowns were rage posting. Thanks, Dan. Which is just some odd responses. And as I said, like, to preface this, he could have gone he could have been like super apologetic, whatever. Like, hey, I know I promised a ton of stuff and we didn't get it. And that's my bad. I tried really hard. Something like that. But instead, he's gone on the attack against people who are critiquing the administration, specifically talking about Epstein. And then anytime someone brings up Epstein, he's apparently going to talk about their mama's basement, or how they've been beat in debates and stuff like that. And in my opinion, this whole thing just isn't going to work. It's clearly not going to be the same. And this is what happens when people don't have actual arguments against you. Dave Smith has challenged him to a debate. I don't think he has accepted yet. I don't think he's even responded. Now, just because someone challenged you to a debate doesn't mean you got to accept it. But he did bring up that he's loved watching him lose debates. So he invoked the debate clause, in my opinion. Smith said, we all knew you were talking about me. You were just too much of a bitch to say my name. That's wild that you had time to watch all my debates. What with all the demands of your work covering up pedophilia, which will be your legacy, make no mistake. Bongino then starts bringing up Dave's kids, his family and kids, and then tweets him again this morning. I didn't even bring up the one this morning. He posts, I think this might be the one, from this morning. Your family and kids must be ecstatic that their last name is Smith so they can blend in with the millions of other Smiths out there and pretend they don't know you. I don't know exactly what to say about this, except that he's... I don't think he's going to win back all of his trust by just going after people who are asking legitimate questions. Was he completely wrong? Was he given evidence that Epstein definitely killed himself? That's the big question we want answered here. Was he shown specific evidence showing that Epstein killed himself? Where is that evidence? All the files are supposed to be out. They haven't been released yet. They've released hardly any of the files, actually, spending a bunch of time redacting victims' names and then 10 times more time redacting the names of people that are implicated and then burning some of the other files that we'll never know about. And so what's the case here? Bongino was the one who made all the promises going in. He's the one who built a big reputation on being a truth teller. And now he's just turned into someone who's going to carry water for the administration. It's sad to see it happen. Yeah, like Clark said, how about you arrest and prosecute one person? One. Well, they weren't trafficking girls. Clark. There's the problem. That's the thing. How about you arrest one person that they were trafficking girls to, and they looked at the evidence, and there was no trafficking. They've just got no evidence of that. This was just one sick guy and his girlfriend that were super obsessed with underage girls, just grabbing them for themselves, and then that's it. Apparently, according to Dan Bongino, that's what's going on. Or this guy's just lying through his teeth. And in order to try and protect the future of his career, he's going on the attack against people that are asking legitimate questions about all of this. Okay. Now we got to get votes in. Let's go get some votes in. Everyone, come on. Everyone's doing it. Number one, stuff about the Minnesota shooting, the good shooting. It's because the girl's last name is Good. Okay. I don't mean that it's good that she got shot. The good shooting in Minnesota. Not like how that sounds, but how it is. That's number one. Number two, Republicans voting to extend ACA, enhance subsidies for 3 more years. Number three, everything about Mamdani, NYC housing, C. Weaver, was that her name? Number four, Trump's housing stuff. Buying up mortgage-backed securities. That's awesome. Banning institutional ownership, even though it's not statistically a problem, but it makes people feel good. Number five, the January 6th candlelight vigil. Number six, stuff about a Galrain. We didn't really talk about any of that because we were running out of time. Clearly, still out of time. Still needed way more time. Number seven, regime change cope, which I didn't even cover all the stuff that was in there. I got a bunch of videos of Tulsi Gabbard in 2019 when she was running for president, talking negatively about how Trump was just trying to go after Venezuela for oil in order to enrich big corporations. And I got posts from her saying we need to leave Venezuela alone, let them figure out their own mess. And then all of a sudden, she's congratulating the tremendous success of this operation. That's got to be one of my biggest disappointments, is what Tulsi Gabbard has done. I think RFK has just been quietly chugging along, doing almost everything. Almost. I know. Not all the real big stuff. Never get that. Policy-wise, though, RFK's just kind of been quietly chugging along, getting things done, almost under the radar for a bunch of these things, while all the other distractions are it's almost like they're just running cover for RFK down there one at a time, getting major thing done that he said he was going to get done. Number 8, we need $1.5 trillion for the military budget, which is insane. Number 9, Dan Bongino. And while everyone's finishing get their votes in, let me tell you to go to GodHatesFeds.com. Get your favorite God Hates Feds t-shirt over there. Go to joingml.com so you can hang out with us in the Fed Haters Club every single day of the week when we want to. And you can vote for Dumb Bleep of the Week. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe on every single platform that you have. Interact with us in the comments. Be super belligerent and crazy on YouTube with other people. It's a fun thing to do. Ring the bell on YouTube so you see when we post out new videos and all of those things. Looks like Dumb Bleep number 3, NYC housing. Zoran Mamdani and the ridiculous capitalist slumlords that he is dealing with right now, which of course are just a reaction to rent control policies and then everything C. Weaver's, I think, ever said in her entire life. That is what wins Dumb Bleep of the Week. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We will see you on Monday. Everyone have a great, safe weekend. Until then, have a good weekend and a good morning. Liberty.